Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna, welcome. We are here with our Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And my name is Labanga Latika. And our channel is called Bhagavad-gita, here it is. And one can actually type that into YouTube and you find it immediately. Today we are continuing. We have just started the 6th chapter, Dhyana Yoga. This is concerning, of course, several chapters are concerning yoga, because yoga means connecting with the Supreme. But Dhyana Yoga is a little bit the traditional understanding of yoga, I would say. And I'm reading text 10 today. Yogi sundita satatam atmanang rahasi sthitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashira parigraha. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. So, of course, this level of being a yogi is maybe not the starter level. But also, this type of yoga is considered more of a mechanical process to control the mind, control the senses, disengage or becoming disentangled from the bodily concept of life. So if one does not achieve these levels, then that yoga process has not been successful. I will read the purport now. Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna consciousness means concisely to be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or the localized supersoul are also partially Krishna conscious, because the impersonal Brahman is the spiritual ray of Krishna and the supersoul is the all-pervading partial expansion of Krishna. Thus, the impersonalist and the meditator are also indirectly Krishna conscious. A directly Krishna conscious person is the topmost transcendentalist, because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. So, yes, perfect and imperfect, what does it mean? Krishna consciousness, or the perfect realization of the Supreme, means that you know Krishna and you love him and you are engaged and you know yourself and your relationship. And that is the complete perfection, because that includes the other levels. Whereas Brahman realization means a realization of everything's spiritual nature, a realization of the difference between matter and spirit. And that is also a realization. Just like if you come to a new place, a new city, in the distance, in the night, you can see the light in the sky, and you can see the shape of the city, and maybe the, silhouette of the buildings. And that is the city, of course, it's nothing else. And then when you come closer, you can start to distinguish the different, roads or areas or colors and how people are moving. And that is also the city. That's definitely the city. But when you come there and you are invited and you talk to the people who live there and you're invited indoors and, you get to learn the language, then you're in it. Then you're not just observing it, that's the full realization. So with the Supreme, it's a little bit like that when we come from a distance, of course, there is no distance, really, but our realization is a little distant. Right now, of course, we're all in Krishna's energy. Everything in this world, it's nothing but Krishna's covered energy. It's nothing else. But our realization is lacking. We don't see it as Krishna's energy. We see it as something for us, something separate. And we make this separation between ourselves and other people and human beings and animals and everything. And of course there are differences, so many differences. But in this human form of life, we are mostly concerned with realizing the spiritual nature, the connection to God. And therefore, I really like this description of it, because sometimes we make this distinction that we have an ongoing philosophical difference from the impersonalists, and especially the Mayavadis, who see the impersonal realization as the supreme, and who even see the form of God as a form of an illusion. And that is simply based on a lack of knowledge and realization. And that's all right. We don't have to have full knowledge and the full realization. But when we come with our limited knowledge and realization, and therefore claim things that are actually really beyond us, then it becomes a little problematic. So that's why this keeps coming up, because it is an important point. But here we don't see so much of the difference. We see more of the how it's a similar thing. It's the beginning of yoga. It's a level of realization of the supreme, and an attraction to the supreme, which is natural, because that's the actual position of the soul, to find this, have this attraction in the heart towards Krishna. And whatever other attraction we have is because that everything else is also part of Krishna's energy, part of Krishna's qualities, part of, so in a loving relationship, we are attracted directly to the person Krishna. We want to be in that loving, serving relationship with him. And the indirect realization is when we have some other idea, have some other desire, but anything we can find that we are drawn to and interested in and that we have desires for is because whatever it is an aspect of Krishna, although we try to see it in a separate way. Nevertheless, all of these are instructed herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuits, so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. The first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him even for a moment. That's a Vedic injunction. The Vedas have many injunctions and instructions and rules and structures, and that's maybe something for a modern person, the annoying part of religion, all the rules and regulation. But in the Vedas we hear that the main rule is this one: always remember Krishna and never forget him. And therefore the other rules serve as a support for that rule, a help for that rule. So therefore we don't find them, limiting or sometimes difficult to understand, because we can understand the connection, how it helps us to be more focused on Krishna. And therefore we are interested in learning more and more how this can be done. Yes, so always thinking of Krishna, never forgetting him even for a moment. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization, and in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness, because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. So yes, because this chapter is mainly describing jnana yoga, there those rules are stricter, because that's there all you have is your mind and the focus of your mind and your own power to focus your mind on the Supreme in one of the different aspects. Generally the meditators are aiming for super soul, that how did he explain it here? All-pervading partial expansion of Krishna that's situated in the heart. And in order to see super soul in the heart, the mind has to be still. And in order for the mind to be still, we need to practice, and also limit the influence of distractions from the outside. So generally these yogis, they may sit in a cave or in the Himalayas or something, where there is no disturbance. This type of yoga, you cannot do it, every second Tuesday and then you go on with your business, because that's not how the mind works. But here Prabhupada comes back to comparing it to Krishna consciousness, because there it is not just a question of the yogi or the practitioner's ability to control his mind. There it is a question of the natural relationship unfolding, because within the heart we are that spirit soul who have an original relationship to Krishna, and when we connect to that again, then that attraction to Krishna gradually becomes stronger than our attraction to all the distractions of this world. So therefore Bhakti Yoga is a more practical process, and it doesn't need the same level of stringent following of these rules and principles, although it is also not something done just in a random, unstructured way. But the process in itself is more powerful, and also because it's a personal thing, it doesn't just mean that the person is looking for Krishna, but Krishna is also reaching out to that person, so it certainly helps. Srila Rupa Goswami characterizes Krishna consciousness in this way: Anasaktasya vishayani yatharhan upayundyataha nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktang vairagyam uchyate prapanchikhataya buddhya hare sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubhir parityago vairagyang bhalgu kathyate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-255. So that's a little bit of a difference. Because yoga is not a goal unto itself. Yoga means to connect to the Supreme. And the highest level of that connection is the personal relationship of loving service. The other yoga methods are steps on the way, steps on the yoga ladder. So in that type of yoga, the instruction may be that you give up absolutely everything. You go and sit in a cave, you count your breath, you practice some postures, and eventually you turn your consciousness inward to the super soul. And to do that, you need to have absolutely given up everything else. In Bhakti Yoga, that is not the process. The process is to engage everything in Krishna's service. And therefore, so many things can be engaged in Krishna's service, and the person using them has no sense of possessiveness. It's like you will find in every Krishna temple, you will find the brahmacharis and brahmacharinis, the monks and nuns, living very simple lives, having, the necessities of clothes and shoes and maybe some books, and nowadays maybe a computer. Other than that, not very much. And then you find the altar where there is a lot of gold and marble and beauty and opulence and offerings to Krishna, and the devotees are very happy to bring all these things to Krishna. They don't have to renounce it because it's not theirs. It's like if you have I'm in Sweden. I think this is around the time when we will start to have the Nobel festivities, and there will be a huge grand dinner where everything is very elegant, and there will be extra people brought in to do the serving at the tables, and they will put out all the elegant plates and cutlery and all of that, and they will not feel attached, and they will have no sense of possessiveness, because they know these are not ours, we are just here to do the service. And a devotee is like that. We have so many things we can use in the service. Like right now, I'm looking into a camera. This camera didn't turn up automatically. And the owner of the camera doesn't think, oh, I should renounce everything, and I should definitely not use a camera. Because, we didn't have a camera. How would we connect to you? We use that camera. And that is all right. And that's the very practical thing about Krishna consciousness, is that we have things in this world. First of all, we have this body. We have a certain nature. We have to live, we have to work in some capacity in order to live. But whatever we do, we can, Prabhupada uses the word dovetail, which I think is a carpenter term where you connect two pieces of wood. So in that way, we connect our nature, our talents, our capacities, and other things. If we have intelligence or money or connections, all these things, we connect them in Krishna's service. And that is, here it says, Falgu Vairagya. That's when we, Vairagya means to give things up. And yeah, I'm not sure of the words. But I think Phala, that's a fruit. And Falgu means it's fruitless. It doesn't work. So we give things up, but we don't, honestly, we can't really give anything up except that one thing, our sense of possessiveness, our sense of being the controller and enjoyer of this world. So if we can give that up and accept that identity, that natural identity as Krishna's servant, then all these other things, they will fall away, and then we can engage in positive Krishna consciousness here and now. A Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna, and thus he is always free from feelings of personal possession. As such, he is not hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He is always aloof from material things because he is always transcendental. And he is always alone, having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi. So that is something to aim for. So that's Krishna consciousness. It doesn't mean like these things. There are things like that all over the Vedas, that spiritual life means to not do this and not do that. But when we understand it from a Krishna conscious point of view, we see the difference between material and spiritual. All that engagement in the material world, which means a sense of possessiveness, a sense of identifying with the body, a sense of, trying to get things for myself and not sharing them around, and especially not focusing then on serving to Krishna. Therefore, the first step is to give up, give up, give up, give up. Control the mind, control the senses, control the desires. And then one can take the next step. In this life, in this Kali Yuga, we may not have the luxury of all of that time, so we want to start immediately with Krishna consciousness. And in this chapter, we will hear about it side by side, because the same principles are there, because Bhakti Yoga is also yoga. But the practice is more practical, actually. And the level of pure devotional service is actually the highest level of realization the soul can attain in this world. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.